Welcome to the Untold Story podcast, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and today we are joined by Corey Lewandowski, Trump 2024 senior advisor. He was the original Trump campaign manager way back in the early days of 2015, 2016. Corey, good to have you with us. It's post-Labor Day. Here we go. We're in the home stretch, 60-some days till the election. Are you having fun yet?
I'm having fun. Look, we got 9 weeks to go. It's a sprint to the finish. We know that this is going to be a knife fight in the ditch. That's where we're going here. This is going to be a very close race, but we feel very, very good about where we stand. When you look at the numbers and you look at historical data, from where we were 8 years ago and 4 years ago, we're in the strongest position, empirically speaking, today than we've ever been. So I love where we stand. Okay.
So let me throw a few things at you that are popping in this post-Labor Day news cycle. And one is that Harris is a change candidate. That's the way Carville is saying that she should position herself, that she is fresh, new. She should move herself away from the Biden administration. More appealing candidate than Hillary, more appealing candidate than Sleepy Joe, as former President Trump calls him. How do you combat that? How do you combat the momentum that she appears to have right now, especially with young people, Latinos, and black voters?
Well, first, I respect James Carville, but he's absolutely wrong. Look, you can't be a change candidate when you've been a career politician. She's been the Attorney General of California. She's been a U.S. Senator and now the Vice President. So how are you a change candidate when for the last 3.5 years it's been under your administration that we've seen record inbound undocumented migration coming in? We've seen a devastation to our economy. We've seen wars across the country. And listen, across the world, Donald Trump is the only change agent. He's the only person who's a non-career politician. He served 4 years in the White House, and he's looking to come back. So a change agent is a person who hasn't operated inside the system for their entire adult life, only to claim to be a change agent. That's like saying Joe Biden is a change agent, and he's been in public office for 55 years.
Well, I don't think anybody saw Joe Biden as a change candidate. He was sort of there to keep things, to normalize the system, I think, during, the beginning of COVID and moving away from the first Trump era and all of that. I look back at the 2020 election, and as I know you have pointed out, Biden was further ahead than Harris is now at this stage of the game. Hillary Clinton was further ahead than Harris is now at this stage of the game. So what have you brought to the campaign? Now that you're back involved, you call yourselves the three amigos, or you've said it with Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. So what are you looking at in terms of all of this and saying, here's what I bring to the table, here's my role?
Martha, what I think I've been able to do, and I've had the privilege to do this for a long time now, is be very candid with Donald Trump. And that's not to say others haven't been. But I'm a volunteer at this campaign, and I've decided to leave my family for the next 9 weeks, to come here because I truly believe that this constitutional republic, this exercise in democracy is at stake, and the future is at stake. So what have I been able to do? I've been able to tell Donald Trump that I think that he is best when he's talking directly to the American people. And so what does that look like? We've done a town hall meeting with Tulsi Gabbard in Wisconsin. I think really the first town hall meeting that hasn't been hosted by a major network like yours. That gives Donald Trump the opportunity to talk directly to the American people and answer questions which are unscripted, unvetted by people who are concerned about the future of their country. And more than that, you see Donald Trump out there giving specific policy speeches, whether it was at the border, whether it was on the issue of national security when he spoke to the National Guard last week. And then in addition, we have obviously these rallies. So what you're seeing from the Trump campaign is Donald Trump out talking specifically about policies. He's answering questions in a town hall format, which he will do again with Sean Hannity this week. And then he has the opportunity to have a rally, which brings all of these supporters into one location. He gets a feed off of that. And you juxtapose that with where the Biden, Harris, Walz campaign is. No interviews, one interview in 44 days since she's been the presumptive nominee. For 18 minutes and 30 seconds, she's answered some questions. I think the American people want real answers. And the fact that her website still has no policies on it is shameful because she's trying to hide from the American people.
I think that there is a pervasive feeling among Democrats that the less she does, the better. Why not just coast this thing through, and why take any chances, they say, because the most important thing is to beat Donald Trump. And not to get mired in, hiccups from various interviews. But the debate I think we all hope as Americans is a good one and a strong exchange of ideas. Give me a little insight into what the debate preparation on the Trump side looks like.
Well, look, Donald Trump's been preparing for debates his entire life. The town hall meetings, the questions he takes from the audience, the questions he takes from the media on a daily basis are all preparation for the debate. And what's the difference, right? Kamala Harris has sequestered herself into a room, probably building the same debate stage that Joe Biden did, which Hillary Clinton did, is the same thing. They hide in these cabins, they lock themselves away, and they listen to advisors to tell them exactly what to say. And obviously, it didn't go well for Joe. And here's the difference, Martha. When we negotiated for the debates, we did it with the Biden-Harris team. We were very clear what the criteria was going to be. And that criteria was going to be two candidates standing at a podium, whether it was the presidential debate or, in her case, it was supposed to be the vice presidential debate. It was going to be no notes, and it was going to be a closed microphone. Now she wants to renegotiate that, just like she wants to renegotiate her position on immigration, just like she wants to renegotiate her position on no tax on tips. She continuously changes. She says her values don't change. Then how do your positions change if your values haven't changed?
So
either you're a chameleon
are you
and you just made up things.
I hear you. Are you previewing something that we're going to see President Trump do during this debate? Are we going to hear him say, wait a minute, you were there and now you're here, flip-flop John Kerry style? Is he going to go after her on these substantive issues that she's changed her mind on?
Absolutely, Martha. And I don't think it's a flip-flop. I think they've been outright lies. She said she's not going to ban fracking in Pennsylvania, but what she said when she was a candidate was it would be something she'd do on day one. And now she points to the fact that the Biden administration didn't ban fracking as this notion that she was in favor of it. Just because the Biden administration, which she's been part of, didn't ban fracking, shouldn't negate the fact that she said on day one she will ban fracking if she's elected president of the United States. When did she change her position, and why didn't we know about it? There was no pushback by and large from the only interview she did. And the other question I have to her is, what did you know about Biden's cognitive decline, and when did you know it? Because you told us for 3.5 years this guy was at the top of his game, and it was only because of that presidential debate that the American people saw that he was completely unfit for office.
So what about if she turns in that moment and says, well, people evolve. You used to be pro-choice, President Trump. Then you were pro-life and appointed pro-life judges to the court. And now you're saying that you are in favor of certain more liberal restrictions on abortion. So you've been all over the map on that issue. What if she goes there?
Donald Trump has a proven record of appointing 3 Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade and sent it back to the states, which I believe the American people actually want. And now, when you live in a state and it's on the ballot, you get to decide what your state law looks like, which is the right thing to do. It becomes a local or a state-based decision, and that's fine. The difference here, Martha, is Donald Trump never said, hey, my values stayed the same, but my positions have flip-flopped. That was the line that some consultant gave her, and she must have repeated it 4 or 5 times in that one interview she sat down and did. When did she change her positions? And there's really been no pushback. And the other part is, and you know this, her running mate said, I used bad grammar when I decided I was going to bring a weapon of war into a battle zone. That's not bad grammar. That's also a lie. So when are they held accountable for lying to the American people?
Okay, here's another Carville crafted piece of advice for Harris, that she should, basically get under his skin with her sense of humor. So far, she's already called him weird, unserious. She said that he and Vance are kind of out of their minds. So I would expect that some of that is going to get thrown in his direction. Will he let that get under his skin? And how does he parry that move?
I think Donald Trump has a history now and a proven record of being one of the greatest debaters ever we've seen, because he's so funny. He's got such quick quips. Look, during the presidential debate with Joe Biden, when he said, I have no idea what that guy just said, nor does he, that wasn't a line that was rehearsed. No. That was just Donald Trump off the cuff. When he said to Hillary Clinton, she said, you wouldn't have the right temperament. He said, you'd be in jail. I mean, it was a one-liner. When he said to, a news anchor, only Rosie O'Donnell. Again, these are lines that Donald Trump just comes up with off the cuff that aren't rehearsed. I think what the American people are going to see with Kamala Harris are rehearsed lines. We know that she did that in the previous presidential debate when she was running for president. Donald Trump is the best when he's just talking off the cuff and using those one-liners. I think that you're going to see a lot of that in this debate.
So we understand that the mics will be muted. That's the latest that we've heard. And that is, as you said, the original June 27th agreed to debate parameters. Did you think that helped him in the end of June debate with Biden? Because he's never had that environment before. Did you think it helped him? And are you glad that that's going to be the case on September 10th?
Well, it clearly didn't hurt. You know, what hurt was Joe Biden stepping onto the debate stage and drooling on himself on national television and not sure which, way he was supposed to look at the camera until Dana Bash pointed to him and showed him. So that hurt more than anything. But listen, if the hosts, the moderators of this debate, and I will give Dana and Jake credit, if they're simply there to ask questions and let the candidates answer and have a true policy discussion, I think this plays into Donald Trump's favor. Our policies are completely different than that of the Harris administration, or what could be a Harris administration. So a closed microphone, in my opinion, is beneficial so that the candidates have the opportunity to answer the questions in full and not be cut off or, interrupted by somebody else.
So he's looking forward to the debate, and there's no chance that it gets called off. I still hear people everywhere I go, oh, he's not going to debate.
Well, I think it's the exact opposite. We've agreed to be there. We're going to be there. Whether she shows up or not, we don't know, because she's still pushing to have the microphones turned on so she can have that moment which she had when she went after Mike Pence and said, "Excuse me, I'm talking." It's the same line she used when she ran for president to make it seem like she's the victim in this. So, look, we've agreed to the criteria. She has still not agreed as of today to show up on the debate stage. But I will tell you this, Donald Trump will be on the debate stage. If he's debating an empty chair, it's just like debating an empty suit, which is what I think she is.
So no change in the debate prep. You're telling me that there's no two-podium situation where there's someone standing in for her who's playing Kamala Harris. That's not happening?
It's not happening. And look, the other thing we don't have to do is practice standing for 45 minutes, which is what we heard the Biden campaign was doing. Was we have to practice standing for 90 minutes.
Didn't work out very
on the way
well.
to the debate, I said to him, "Sir, we're on the plane. Should we practice standing?" He said, "Corey, if we got to practice standing, we're in big trouble. We're going to make it." I said, "Thank you, sir." But, that's the thing, right? I mean, he's ready for the debate. He will always be ready for the debate. His ideas have been put forth for the American people to determine if it's the right direction for the country, whether it's his economic policy. And Martha, he's going to give a detailed economic policy speech this week in New York. He's going to have the opportunity to lay those policies out. And again, it juxtaposes with what Kamala Harris and her team is not doing, which is to talk about policy matters, because they can't.
The Untold Story continues right after this.
So, when you look at these polls, and, we pointed out that he was behind more than he is now in previous elections, but Biden was behind the whole time. And she's not. She's ahead in Sun Belt polling by 1 or 2 points in the most recent polling. She definitely has changed the gender situation. A lot more women are supporting her, college educated women and men, white women and men, strong support for Kamala Harris. So how do you turn that around? How do you change that situation? Are you worried about it?
Look, I think we have taken the best shot that the Democrats and most of the mainstream media have had over the last 3 weeks. They have propped her up to be this amazing hero going forward. They've given her no hard questions. She had her Democrat convention. The coronation has now been completed. And Donald Trump, in any poll in every battleground state, is within a point. That's amazing when you think of the onslaught that he's been under from most of the mainstream media and the Harris, Walz campaign. So we feel very good about where we are. But listen, here's the other point, Martha, is women are not monolithic. They care about a whole litany of issues, not just the issue of safety and security for their family, but also school choice, also about the issue of immigration and making sure that their children have a safe place to live and that our country is secure. So when you put people side by side and you look at Donald Trump's policies, which have benefited every American, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or creed, and those policies of the Biden-Harris administration, which have devastated us economically, have left us vulnerable from attacks from within, an invasion, if you will, those women have to make a decision. Do we want the safety and security both economically and physically and emotionally for our children, or do we want to vote for a person strictly based on their gender? And I believe at the end of the day, gender will lose, just like Hillary Clinton did when she lost the women vote in 2016.
All right, let me tell you another thing that I hear when I'm out around the country, which I've been a lot lately. Well, if he had picked Nikki Haley, he'd be in much better shape right now. What do you say to that?
Again, that's under the premise that Nikki Haley would be attracting these so-called moderate women to come and support Donald Trump and believing that they're monolithic. I don't agree with that. I think we know what the battleground states are. There's no surprises. Most people believe that there's 7 to 10 battleground states, but the big three, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We call that the ball game. You win those three, then the path to 270 is very clear. So we know where we need to go. Donald Trump has spent an enormous amount of time, as has Senator Vance, in those states. We'll be back in Wisconsin on Saturday. I think we did 4 or 5 trips to those 3 states in the last week alone. Then we also factor in Arizona, where we were honored to get the RFK Jr. endorsement in Arizona a week ago Friday. That place was rocking. It was the same exact arena that Kamala Harris had used, except we put 6,000 more people in it for the rally. So, look, we know what the battleground states are. Kamala Harris is campaigning in my home state of New Hampshire, a state that has an opportunity to be competitive. But the fact that she's up there right now should tell you that they're very concerned about the numbers that are coming out of that state.
Well, she's going to be rolling out an economic plan up there, and we'll see what's in it. Is there any effort or discussion around Nikki Haley being out there on the campaign trail with President Trump and doing campaigning for him? She has endorsed him.
Look, we're a big tent party. We want everybody from Nikki Haley to the candidates who ran against Donald Trump in the primary this year, whether it's Doug Burgum or Tim Scott or anybody else who thought that they had different ideas for the presidency. They have all coalesced around Donald Trump. We're completely unified. And here's the difference on the left. When you go look to the state of Georgia, it's not a binary choice on the ballot. Yes, Donald Trump is on the ballot representing the conservative Republicans there, but Kamala has 5 other candidates on the ballot, including Jill Stein, including Colonel West, right? So they have a real problem on their hands in these battleground states that those far left progressives who, if it's possible, think that she's not progressive enough, are going to vote for Jill Stein or somebody else. And every vote for Colonel West or Jill Stein is a vote coming from Kamala Harris, not Donald Trump.
All right. But to address this, because there has been some drift in the polls of independent women, and they seem to be moving in her direction. And I know that you say that women care about the same issues as men do. And I agree with that 100%. I think that's very true. However, I asked you if Nikki Haley was going to be out on the campaign trail, and you didn't answer me directly. Will she be? And are you guys discussing having her out there? And what about Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Will we see her out there alongside President Trump campaigning in these swing states?
My answer is yes, and I don't want to speak for Governor Haley or Governor Huckabee, and I know them both very, very well. Look, I would only imagine you're going to see Nikki Haley out there, you're going to see Sarah Sanders out there, you're going to see Elise Stefanik out there, you're going to see Kristi Noem out there, you're going to see Claudia Tenney out there. You're going to see a whole litany of women who represent a wide swath of the Republican Party out campaigning for Donald Trump because it's so critical right now. You know, you see Anna Paulina Luna, you see we've got an event in Texas where we have a female member of Congress who's out there campaigning for us right now, Dela Cruz. So, listen, this is a big party. Nikki Haley has an enormous role in this party going forward, and she has put all of her support behind Donald Trump because she knows the alternative to Donald Trump is devastating for our future of the republic here in America.
Okay. I have some more questions on that, but I'm going to move on and we'll ask you next time. The last thing I want to ask you, the other thing that I hear from a lot of conservatives and Republicans is that they really hope that the ground game is better now than it was in 2020 because nobody wants to see a repeat of what happened in 2020. The aftermath, the recounts, all of this. So I know that Democrats have, probably 3-to-1 campaign ground game headquarters in places like North Carolina right now. I know you guys don't reveal how many campaign offices you have in different states, but what do you say to people on your side of the aisle to reassure them that you're not going to see another 2020 where it's, 15,000 votes and there's a battle afterwards?
There's 2 big components to what you're talking about. One is called the election integrity side, making sure that the elections are fair and free and everybody who's supposed to vote is, but those who aren't voting. Very important. And we are very focused on that, particularly in these battleground states where, whether you agree there was fraud or not, I think it is fair to say in the 2020 election, when you look at the number of ballots which were submitted, and the validation rate for those ballots, or more importantly, the rejection rate, was exceptionally high compared to where historical data has been. Part of that was because of COVID.
Right.
And I truly believe that in a number of these places, the election workers were just overwhelmed and assumed that people were submitting properly and didn't validate the signatures. Because that's all going to go back and change to what has now been a historical mean. They're going to go back and see the number of absentees and voting like that, which has historically been not the 2020 number. But more than that, when you look at what we've been able to do, and I've had now a chance over the last couple weeks to do an analysis of our ground game, to see the teams that are in place, the expertise that we have out in the field, I feel very good as we work very closely with the Republican National Committee across the board to make sure we have the right people in the right place. Martha, I remember waking up on the day after the election of 2020 and driving to Philadelphia as I watched the ballots being separated from the envelopes, knowing that once that happened, you could never challenge who that voter was. We will be completely prepared for that in 2024.
Okay. Corey Lewandowski, thank you very much. It's always great to talk to you, and there's a lot to watch in the coming days. It's an exciting time in the country and in this election cycle, so we hope you'll join us again. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you.
Corey Lewandowski, Senior Trump Campaign Advisor, 2024. That's the Untold Story for today. I'm Martha McCallum. You've been listening to The Untold Story with Martha McCallum. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Make sure to rate and review. For more podcasts, go to foxnewspodcast.com. Listen ad-free with the Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.